You can't fish here without a community permit. That'll be $600. Are you kidding me? $600 for fishing in a public lake? That was the moment I realized my HOA president, Kimberly Hall, either had too much time on her hands or was working on some kind of world record for most ridiculous fine ever written. And I gotta admit, part of me was furious, part of me was confused, but a tiny part of me was actually impressed by her audacity. Instead of just paying or, fighting it the normal way, I went and did something absolutely unhinged, something that ended up flipping her life upside down, and in the process, tore the lid off secrets this community thought were buried forever. If you've ever had one of those "you cannot be serious" moments with an HOA, trust me, you haven't heard anything yet. Comment where you're watching from, because this story, you won't believe how it ends. Let me back up a sec. So, there I am, enjoying my Saturday morning at Clearwater Lake, sipping my coffee, fishing rod balanced just right, sun coming up over the water. That's when I hear this sharp voice behind me. "Excuse me, sir." I turn, and there she is, Kimberly Hall, 52, HOA president for the last 7 years, looking like she'd just come from a White House breakfast meeting. She's in a pristine white blazer at 7 in the morning, hair done up, makeup perfect, holding a clipboard like it's her passport out of a sinking ship. She walks over with this forced smile and a weird tremor in her voice. Tells me I need a community permit to fish there. Now, I get it, rules are rules, but come on. I just renewed my state fishing license, had the laminated cover and everything, handed it over like it was a get-out-of-jail-free card. But here's where it gets strange. Kimberly looks right past it. I mean, literally acts like it's invisible, just keeps scribbling on her clipboard. And now she's glancing over her shoulder, looking jumpy as a cat in a room full of rocking chairs, fumbling with her pen like she's about to make the arrest of the century. My first thought is, this can't just be about fishing. June 15th. That's the date. Anniversary of my grandfather Miguel's death. And honestly, the only reason I was fishing that morning was to clear my head, sit near those thick cattails on the east shore, and remember him. But when Kimberly saw where I was set up, her whole vibe changed. She started muttering, "Not today, not June 15th, checking her phone like she was waiting for backup. Then she blurted, "They can't be disturbed." Just like that. Not "you can't fish here," not "this is restricted," but they. Who was they? There's nobody but me, a couple of ducks, and the distant hum of some early joggers. She caught herself, tried to reset. "You can't fish here without the proper community permit." But her hands were shaking, and she kept staring at the cattails like something was about to crawl out and grab her. Next thing I know, she's saying my family name, "Hey family," slow and deliberate, like she's dredging it up from a bad dream. We'd lived here 3 years and never exchanged more than a wave. How did she know my name? Why did she look at me like she'd seen a ghost? At this point, I decided, fine, I'll take the ticket, figure it out later. But as Kimberly hustled back to her car, practically sprinting, I knew there was more to this story. So I did what any stubborn, slightly paranoid person would do. I set up a trail camera, aimed at those cattails. The footage that night blew everything wide open. Midnight. Someone's out there, measuring the area with professional surveying equipment. When I zoomed in and recognized the face, my stomach dropped. Why the hell would Kimberly's friend from City Council be out here, mapping out 12 square feet of marsh in the dark? First thing Monday, I hired a PI, Jake Morrison. Not cheap, but worth every penny. Jake's the kind of guy who could find out what cereal you ate as a kid just by looking at your recycling bin. 2 days later, he calls, barely able to keep the excitement out of his voice. "You're not going to believe this. Kimberly has spent $45,000 in the last 5 years on ground-penetrating radar rentals." I'm sorry, what? Ground-penetrating radar? For a neighborhood lake? I start picturing buried treasure, mob money, Jimmy Hoffa, you name it. But it's not random. Jake finds rental records, all GPS coordinates, all focused on a 12 by 12 area right where I was fishing. Now, either she's looking for the Holy Grail, or she's covering something up. Meanwhile, I try to play it straight, send a formal email to the HOA board asking about fishing permits, regulations, you name it. Instead of a polite reply, I get a community lockdown. Overnight, motion sensor floodlights go up, security guards show up, for a lake. Protected wetland signs everywhere, $400 a day in security bills, all aimed at the cattails. The neighbors start buzzing. That's when Eleanor Patterson, 78, the community's living archive, corners me during a walk. "Sam," she says, "Kimberly does this every June. Always near the cattails, always acts scared to death." Turns out, Eleanor's been documenting 5 years of these midnight vigils, thinking it was weird widow grief. But the pattern is clear. Always June, always the same spot, always the same look of terror. The plot thickens. Then the HOA treasurer, Bob Miller, sweats bullets as he shows me the books. $45,000 in maintenance for a patch of marshland. Unapproved, unrecorded, just gone. Kimberly's got everyone running scared. But Jake's biggest break is a stack of geological surveys tied to the radar rentals. They're not looking for maintenance issues. They're mapping underground cavities. The survey from 1998, limestone caverns under the lake, marked sealed due to emergency. The date? June 15th, the day my grandfather died. I start digging. City records, public archives, old news. Construction workers disappeared during the Clearwater Recreation Center project. The site was sealed overnight. No explanations, soil instability. The man who signed the emergency order? Robert Hall, Kimberly's late husband, city councilman. There's no public discussion, no committee vote. Just boom, shut it down. Dig a little deeper, and it turns out 3 workers vanished. One Morgan, Kevin Walsh, Tommy Collins. Only 2 are named. The third's a temporary laborer. Their families never got answers. The project was abandoned. The site became wetlands. I hunt down Thomas Webb, the retired city engineer. Over lunch, he leans in and whispers, "They told us to seal it. Never speak about it again." I kept a copy of the original survey. There's a cave system big enough to swallow a truck. The official story was a cover. This isn't grief, this is guilt. Time to confront Kimberly. I show up at her door with the clippings. The look on her face, genuine terror. She starts crying, tells me her husband was haunted by what happened, would wake up screaming about falling men. When he died, she found letters. She's about to spill everything, but her guard snaps back up. Mrs. Patterson watches from her porch, clearly seeing something big's going down. That night, someone breaks into my garage, wipes my computer, but they miss a newspaper clipping in my grandfather's old toolbox. The headline, "City halts search for missing workers." Suddenly, this is more than neighbor drama. This is a legacy of secrets. Now Kimberly goes nuclear, hires a shell company, Clearwater Investments LLC, offers $800,000 for my shops, way over value. I follow the money. It's her trust fund. She wants me gone, offer sent. When that fails, she calls my biggest clients, gets me dropped from a huge contract, files a restraining order, paints me as a threat. But the judge sees right through her, denies it, warns both sides. Now the neighborhood's split. Mrs. Patterson swears out a statement. Bob Miller confesses about the money. Community pressure mounts. Kimberly, losing control, tries to buy my silence, 75 grand in cash. Then Marcus, my lawyer, uncovers something wild. The city is auctioning off the lake. And here's the twist. Whoever buys it owns all rights, above and below ground. My only shot is to sell everything. 2 businesses, mortgage the house, pull every cent I've got. Meanwhile, Kimberly liquidates her own portfolio, comes with $600,000 certified. This woman will burn her whole life to ashes to keep whatever's under those cattails secret. But my neighbors rally. 40 signatures on a petition, media coverage goes viral. Pressure's on. Then, as June 15th rolls around, Mrs. Patterson finds Kimberly at dawn, sobbing at the water's edge, talking to the ground. "I tried to protect you. I tried." That's when I knew, without a doubt, there were bodies down there. Auction day. The courthouse is packed, local news everywhere. I open with the minimum bid, $350,000. Kimberly counters with $450,000. I go $550,000. She jumps to $650,000, right at my limit. I throw in my last dollar, $651,000. Going once, going twice, Kimberly snaps. Screams, "You don't understand what you're doing." The room goes dead silent. A reporter asks, "Why does this matter so much to you, Mrs. Hall?" And the dam breaks. Kimberly confesses, 3 workers fell into the cavern during construction. Her husband covered it up with the mayor and police chief. Families told they'd moved away for better jobs. The site's sealed, their tomb disguised as wetlands. Kimberly admits everything: her husband's suicide, the nightmares, the guilt, the embezzlement. She reveals 2 more sites: Riverside Park, Valley View. FBI agents in the back of the room leap into action. The auction ends. I win the lake, but nobody cares. The entire courthouse is in chaos. Federal agents swarm the property. For 3 weeks, teams excavate the chamber. They find the remains of all 3 men, exactly where Kimberly's midnight vigils had been. Then, at the other sites, 4 more bodies are recovered. 7 families get answers after decades. Lawsuits fly, millions in liability, politicians caught up in the fallout. And justice? It's not loud, not Hollywood. It's quiet. It's a daughter laying flowers for her father, a Navy veteran honored at last, a family finally able to grieve. It's the cattails turning into a memorial garden, the lake opening up for everyone, no permits, no fines. The scholarship fund set up in Juan Morgan's name. The annual ceremony, every June 15th, where the whole community comes together, remembering and healing. So yeah, a $600 fishing fine kicked off a chain reaction that busted open decades of lies and set 7 families free. Now, drop your thoughts. Should Kimberly get life, or did she pay enough with what she lived through? Ever found a secret in your family that changed everything? Let me know below. And stick around. If you think this was wild, wait till you hear the next one.